When this broke loser finds himself summoned to another world, he must find a way to make money quick or else he will die starving. This is an isekai we've never seen before. Well, that part may be a lie. This story begins with Takeru Kamishiro, an average, ugly-looking salaryman whose life is as boring as it can get. Wake up, go to work, come home, watch boring news on TV, sleep, and repeat. However, one particular night, as Takeru is watching TV, he suddenly gets presented with an opportunity to do something interesting instead by the god who is in charge of the solar system. The god shows Takeru a planet called Medeus that apparently has this problem of civilizations dying out every now and then. Because the god is in charge of planet Medeus, it is his duty to help the planet nourish. However, he cannot directly influence anything as a cosmic entity, so he wants Takeru to do it instead by becoming Medeus's new messiah to greatness. Once God explains this plan to Takeru, Bro becomes overwhelmed as he's just an ordinary salaryman with zero real talents. Plus, he mentions that he needs to get back to work or his boss might fire him. However, God reveals that the moment he brought Takeru to this realm, he had already died in the real world. So if he doesn't take this opportunity, his soul is going to end up vanishing away. This is shocking news to Takeru, and once he calms himself down, he realizes that he has no other option but to do what God wants from him. Once Takeru agrees, God gives Takeru some special powers before sending him to Medeus. He first adds magic to Takeru's stats, specifically maxed out mana, and asks Takeru if he has anything else he'd like to have. Takeru, being a cultured man, wonders if he should request God to bestow him with a harem. God reads Takeru's thoughts and promises the degenerate that he will meet many beauties in his journey and will get a chance to catch 'em all. Anyway, God adds a special search ability to Takeru's stats, and after adding several other convenient skills like global language and various resistances, he also includes a handy bag so that Takeru can keep all of his stuff in there. He then doesn't even give the guy a proper goodbye before sending him off abruptly to Medeus. As Takeru opens his eyes, he finds himself sitting beside a tree in a lush forest. He gets up, and the first thing in his mind is to go look for a place where people live. As he wanders around the forest long enough, he discovers a village in the distance. He hasn't eaten since coming here, so he has become hungry, but he isn't sure if anyone will offer him free food there. That's when he suddenly remembers that God has given him a special search ability that can help him gather materials, which he can then sell to make money in this world. So, excitedly, Takeru shouts out loud, "Activate search magic," but much to his own embarrassment, nothing happened, leaving him wondering if he has cast the spell the wrong way. He reluctantly writes down the words of his spell on the ground in Japanese, and this time, it works. Many holographic signs appear near objects, like clover, diamond, hearts, showing the location of the materials. Takeru uses scan on one of the materials and gets the information about it. For instance, the system shows him that the moon night grass is a yellow flower that blooms under a crescent moon and is rank B in terms of rarity. Since it's rare, Takeru takes it and puts the item in his handy bag. He then moves on to collect many other items, but all of them turn out to be low rank. The one thing he figures out is that the clover sign is a symbol of flowers and herbs. The love sign symbolizes life, while the diamond sign means minerals, rocks, etc. Now that Takeru's set, he heads off to the village to sell his items and meets with the village guard, Marlowe, at the gate, introducing himself as a wandering traveler. Since he's super tall, the guard asks him if he's a knight or a swordsman, but Takeru explains he's just a gatherer merchant who sells materials. Hearing that Takeru is a gatherer specialist, Guard Marlowe shows him the way to the general store, and on the way there, Takeru blushingly greets the villagers staring at him in confusion. After entering the general store, Takeru shows his items to the shopkeeper, who's impressed. Assuming Takeru is a specialist at gathering, the shopkeeper requests him to gather mithril ore from a mountain nearby. He also buys all of the stuff Takeru brought here for 300,000 raves, which is equivalent to $20,000. Bro can't believe that he got instantly rich, but he's hungry for more, so he takes the job regardless of the risks he might face on the way to the mountain. But before heading to the mountains, he takes a breather for the night and goes to a local inn. In his hotel room, a maid comes to him offering room service and gives him the bad news that they don't have baths here because only nobility can afford such nobility. Takeru, however, finds a workaround method to get himself cleaned and uses cleansing magic that instantly cleans his body. Still, Takeru feels unsatisfied because, come on, nothing in the world can beat a good long bath. As Takeru gets his first mission in his strange city, he decides to give it a go. As he journeys down, he uses his search to check for several goodies on his way and trust him to take each of them as he goes. His journey is taking him to the Forest of White Trees, popularly called the Forest of Ancient Dragons. He is gradually getting used to this life, and once more, he uses the search and sees a diamond sign. That is the first time he is seeing a diamond sign, and this definitely means something great is there. Without considering the risk, he leaps through the leaves and checks. He sees a dead body, in fact, a rotting one. He assumes that the warrior must have met his doom while fighting. Although he is scared, since it is a bad scene, he returns to check again. He sees a family amulet beside the warrior, and the amulet has no rank. Regardless, he takes it and finds a letter inside. It is a letter from the warrior's sister, thanking him for all he has done for their sick father and pleading with him to come home no matter the cost. Well, the man can't come home again, but the least Takeru can do in that condition is give the man a burial. He digs a hole, buries the man there, and says a short prayer. Before the sun goes down, he finds a place to sleep. He activates the barrier magic to cover himself for the night, then uses the stones he has found to make fire. In that strange land, Takeru mixes some leaves in a pot to make his first dinner, unaware of what the product of that attempt will be. Well, that is called Takeru's soup, and when he tastes it, he is elated at how good it is. The following day, he continues his journey and gets closer to the end of the forest. He uses his search to find more special items he could take and wonders why he can't find any ore there, as the man had predicted. Another thing amazes him, the fact that he can't find any monsters either. Unlike what the man had said, he wonders if the monsters are running away from him because he stinks, but that would be a good thing, as long as he remains safe. He starts running toward the end of the forest because he is excited that he will get there soon. To his shock, there is a huge division between the mountains. Since he isn't prepared for it, and with the way he is running, he finds it difficult to control himself, and he falls down. Anxious, he calls for every magic he can use so he will fly, and lucky him, he lands in the cave safely. He uses his search to find valuables in the cave and sees several ores, which he takes. However, he realizes he hasn't found any mithril, which is his real mission, so he enhances his search again. This time, he finds mithril, but before he goes nearer, the cave starts shaking. He sends an explosion toward that part of the cave and scatters the mithril for capturing. He takes the ones he finds there, but they are just a few. Before he finds more, the cave shakes again. He sure has guts, because instead of running out of that place, he takes his light and continues his journey into the ancient cave. As he walks farther, he sees clean water, the cleanest water he has seen in his world, let alone in this one where there is no water for bathing. He touches it and scans it, then finds out that it is underground magic element water of the SS rank. That is the most valuable thing he has seen in that world, and he sure won't go without taking a taste of it. He reads in the scan that the water belongs to the ancient dragon of the underworld, which makes him wonder if a dragon is indeed there. But he is audacious, so he stays. Well, a dragon is there. His power has woken the dragon up, and the dragon screams to know who he is. However, Takeru is too distracted to hear his voice. Angrily, the dragon comes out. Water splashes on his body, but he stands still. He figures the dragon is angry at him, so he bows down in apology and begs. He has bowed a lot while working in his real life. Little did he know he would still bow for a dragon. He introduces himself to the dragon as human and apologizes for disturbing him. The dragon also introduces himself as Voldius and asks who Takeru is. To him, Takeru's mana was enough to wake him up. meaning Takeru's mana is on par with his own. Takeru doesn't want that praise. Regardless, Voldius, whom Takeru has nicknamed Vol, asks Takeru for a favor. He reveals that because of the stagnancy of the water, his child has refused to hatch. So he wants Takeru to use his mana to hatch the egg. In return, he reveals some mithril mana and offers to give it to Takeru. The offer seems great, especially considering how expensive the reward is. However, Takeru doesn't know how to hatch the egg. Vol advises him to put his mana inside it, and Takeru also calculates that since it is an egg, he can heat it up. He does that, and suddenly a strange power overshadows him. He hears Vol laughing out loud and gets scared, wondering if Vol intentionally did this so he would die. He falls into the water and drowns. He is angry that he has just gotten a second chance at life and hasn't even had the chance to know this world because he has met his doom. Just as he closes his eyes, a figure stands in front of him. He wonders if it is the god again, but it doesn't look like the god he saw earlier. The creature comments that when a person sees a dragon, they either run or faint, but Takeru is too audacious. A drop of him into that world is enough to destroy the way the world is. He consoles himself that since Takeru wants a cute partner, he will just get one. Takeru's eyes close, and he assumes it is death, but he wakes up later. In relief, he looks around and sees Vol there. He also hears the sound of a baby and wonders why Vol isn't speaking well. Suddenly, a baby dragon jumps at him and starts licking his body. The dragon is dirty, so he pushes him away. Vol tells him to name the baby, and after some thought, he chooses the name Black. Vol asks him to take the dragon away, but he wonders why Vol would let a stranger take his child. Regardless, Vol says Takeru is strong enough to care for Black. He gives him the mithril he came for and returns to the water. Seeing that he has no choice but to remain with Black, he cleans the baby well and asks if he is ready to begin the gathering journey with him. So Takeru, in a strange land, now has a dragon, Black, as a pet. In that city where gatherers aren't common, how will they survive? In a world where every child's destiny is sealed on their 10th birthday, one boy stands before the goddess and sees nothing. No class, no future, no path. His parents are legends. His father, an archmage. His mother, a sword princess. Yet their son is branded with the impossible, classless. What happens when the boy, who should have inherited greatness, is denied it? This is the story of Errol, the child with no class, who chooses to fight against fate itself. It all starts on the morning Arl clocks 10. As is the custom in that city, every child who reaches the age of 10 has a ceremony where they meet the goddess through the priest and receive blessings with classes. Arl's father, Leon, is so excited to find out what class Errol will get. So excited that he couldn't even get a blink of sleep that night. His mother, Farah, is more glad than the day she saw her revelation. Arl, on the other hand, doesn't seem bothered at all. He sits and watches them blabber in their excitement. His sister is also glad about the class he will get, reminding him that the class a child receives is dependent on genetics, and since their parents are geniuses, there is sincerely no doubt about him. Leon teases him that if he gets a good class, several women will chase him. This makes his sister insecure, and she insists that he is too young for that. The happy family laughs that day without knowing what the future has in store for them. Later, the ceremony begins, and the priest stands in front of the goddess to call all the children. Each comes to the front, and he touches their heads. After touching their foreheads, they see a vision of items that signify their classes, and the priest announces the class. When it's Arel's turn, everyone claps excitedly. He seems to be the star of the day. The crowd talks about how his father is an archmage and his mother is a sword princess. The union of such talented people just has to be the best. His sister also reminds him that classes are dependent on genetics, so he has no reason to be afraid. When he gets there and the priest touches his head, his vision is blank. Unlike the other kids, he can't see anything. The priest notices the same and reveals there is only one reason: he is classless. This seems impossible, but it is his reality. Growing up, he starts training, but his grip is weak. His parents watch his hopeless self, and Farah concludes that she and her husband will just have to work harder and retire late so he won't need to work. He is tired of their disappointing comments, but before he can speak, his sister walks in and reaffirms their words. However, he is calm. He sits them down and tells them he isn't disappointed. He reminds them that he has been training with his mother since he was a child, and although it was a little hard, he had gained his grip with weapons a long time ago. He recalls how Farah fought with him and threw him against trees so often that she had to scout for him with her eyes. Because his mother is a sword princess, he had it easier, although his journey would have been better if he had swordsman skills. He insists he will still work hard. In his opinion, hard work can achieve what skills can, though it may take more effort. He is ready to do it. Hearing him speak excites his parents. He is indeed smarter than his age and will do great things. He excuses himself from their praises and asks to train on the field. As he approaches the field, he overhears two boys with the swordsmanship skill training. They commend how receiving skills made them feel stronger. Their bodies move with little effort, and they can do great things. When he arrives, they stop, recognizing him as the boy with no skills. They ask why he is on the field. He replies that just like them, he is there to train, but they counter, saying they aren't training, but showcasing their skills in a duel. Since he has no skill, they tell him to just watch and see how good having a skill can be. Unbothered, he watches them. He notices that while their grip is good, they can't maximize it, since all they rely on are skills. Confident, he asks to fight them. One boy proudly offers to duel, reminding him that he is classless and could die if he doesn't remember his place. He also asks if Arel has divine protection, and Arel says yes. The goddess gives every child divine protection at birth, granting strength and resilience so they can't die easily. Since Arel has that, the boy is glad he can beat him repeatedly, but when he raises his sword, Arel defends himself. The boy quickly realizes Arel is strong. His friend asks why he hasn't defeated Arel as planned, but he has no answer, so he calls his friend to join in. Arel defends himself against them both, and they even end up hitting each other instead. As they stop to re-strategize, Arel seizes the chance to strike one unaware, then forces the other to slip by using his friend's body. With both on the floor, Arel declares himself the winner. They protest, claiming he won by fraud, but then a red-haired youth arrives. He insults the boys for not being as strong as they claim and recognizes Arel as Farah's son. He remarks that fighting with his mother explains Arel's strength, but reminds him that he has no skills. He calls the boys pathetic, saying that's the only reason Arel won. Instead of overestimating himself, Arel should fight him to see the real difference. The boys recognize the red-haired youth as the son of Captain Evans, the head guard of the town. Arel also knows Captain Evans. He has seen him visit Farah several times for help in fighting monsters. While Arel admits the captain is strong, he insists the boy doesn't take after him at all. The boy feels the same about Arel and grows angry. Despite Captain Evans' great service to the kingdom and skill with the sword, Farah is still considered the best swordsman in town. This stings him deeply, as it belittles his father's efforts. Arel wonders why the boy takes his anger toward Farah out on him, but the boy continues. He explains that since gaining his skills the year before, he has trained every day without pause and is now an intermediate swordsman. If skills and strength are genetic, he will prove his family superior by defeating Arel. Arel isn't ready to lose either. He affirms his strength and prepares. When the fight starts, their strengths are evenly matched. Onlookers wonder if Arel truly has no class because he fights like an intermediate swordsman. Arel soon notices that the boy is fighting with emotion, leaving gaps in his defense. Arel presses closer to exploit them, but the boy counters with the twin blade slice, defeating Arel. It is Arel's first time seeing someone fight with two swords. The boy explains that it is an attack skill for classed warriors, one Arel can't defend against. Arel accepts the loss and returns home. Days later, his sister wakes him early, and since he isn't a morning person, they quarrel. After breakfast, he sets out to train, but his sister tries to stop him, saying he is too hard on himself. She promises she will create a world where he won't need to struggle. He ignores her and leaves. After he goes, She expresses concern to Farah, who reassures her. Farah shows her the box of broken swords Arel brings back each night, insisting that sparring with skilled peers is what gives him strength, so there's no need to worry. As expected, Errol is already at his sparring field. He has been taking all his losses against the red-haired boy just to learn the twin sword technique. After long practice, he finally succeeds. He predicts a goblin behind him, and when it attacks, he turns and uses the twin sword to kill it. Suddenly, he hears a much stronger monster approaching. Shocked to find such a beast so close to the town, he decides to warn the guards, but then hears a boy's voice. Someone is in danger. He sneaks closer and sees the red-haired boy. The boy also spots him. Errol realizes the boy has also been training alone against monsters, which explains the hobgoblin now fighting him. Errol wants to help but hesitates. He must be sure his skills can hold up. Choosing his moment, he strikes when the hobgoblin is about to attack and kills it with the twin sword. The boy, shocked, collapses. Errol sees his divine protection is gone and asks about his holy water, but the bottle is broken. Errol offers his own, reviving him immediately. As the boy recovers, he demands to know what skill Errol used. Errol explains he endured all his attacks just to study the twin sword technique closely, then practiced on his own. Though he struggles to believe it, the boy knows it is true. To test it, he challenges Errol again, this time out of gratitude. They duel, and Errol's twin sword shatters his blade. Then Errol surprises him by drawing a third sword. Even classed warriors cannot wield three, but Errol reminds him he didn't get his skills through class, so he doesn't have a limit. Through hard work, he can keep adjusting his strength until it works. The boy refuses to accept it, but in the rematch, he insists that there is no way Errol's sword can be faster than his own, and he hopes to win with that. However, Errol strikes him down. Walking away, Errol declares victory. Days later, Farah tells Leon that Evans's son is going to Brescia. Errol realizes it's the same boy and asks what Brescia is. They explain it is a guild for swordsmen, and Farah fondly recalls her time there before marriage. Excited, Errol longs to go too. But first, he must grow strong enough to be considered worthy. Can he do that?